Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunnymaid, and today we are going to finish up our Jacob's Ladder quilt. Welcome back. We are on week 4. If you're not caught up, that's fine. I just wanted to go ahead and show you how to put together these beautiful blocks so that you can get to that when it's time. So let's go over the things that we have gone through the last couple weeks. Week 1, we learned how to make, or we did make, 8 at a time half square triangles from a 10-inch layer cake. We took 27 of those pattern pieces from a layer cake, paired them with 10 solid background pieces, and we made 8 at a time. We got them all cut and then ironed open. That should have been week 1. Week 2, we trimmed all of those pieces. We should have had 216 half square triangles. That's quite a lot. Okay, 216 half square triangles. Trim them all up. Lots of different patterns, lots of different flavors. Okay, week 3. I have my little cheat sheet over here so I could see exactly how many of each I needed. We learned how to make layer cakes. We learned how to make 4 patches from our layer cakes. There we go. We needed to end up with 108 4 patches. So that should have been what you were working on last week. And now we get to put it all together. So let me show you a large block. This is the Star Jacob's Ladder quilt block we're going to be putting together. First, we're going to start by putting together just a quarter of it. One corner, either way if you want to look at it. Then we're going to put 4 of them together to create this pattern where it kind of creates a star. So I am super excited about how mine is turning out. I love this fabric and I love the background, and I'm just excited to put it all together. So what do we need for our smaller block? Gather 3 of our 4 patches, and then 6 of our half square triangles, preferably different colors, different patterns, different combinations. And then we are going to lay them out in a pattern where you have your 4 patches that go in a diagonal through the corners. Our triangles are going to be facing towards the center. Okay, so grab your stacks of pieces and meet me back here, and we will get started on laying out our quilt. Okay, it's time for us to get our blocks set out. This is the best part. We get to put it all together and get them sewn together. Okay, so the layout. We're doing 4 patches down the center on the diagonal. Then you're going to have the half square triangles here, and they're all pointing in with the background fabric pointing out. Okay, we're going to take the first row. I actually have the first couple of these sewn. Okay, flip those over, line up our edges. And we're going to sew a 1/4 inch down each edge right there. Now we want to be able to nest our seams. So our first row, we're going to sew towards our corner piece. So you'll look, this is our corner piece right here. So you're going to put it seam side up, the corner piece up, set that seam, fold it open, and press it. Okay, our second one, because this goes this way, we want this row to go this way. So we're not going to put the edge piece, the right piece up. We're going to put our 4-patch up. So we put our 4-patch up, set the seam, open it up just like this, and iron it open. So first row goes to the right, second row goes towards the left, and the third row we're going towards the right again. We're going to go towards that 4-patch. So set the seam, push those pieces open, finger press it, and get that nice and flat. Now, next row or next part, we're going to just fold over those left pieces. Okay, right on top of each row, and sew a 1/4 inch down each edge. Okay, I'm going to lay it out real quick so you can see what we're doing. Top, bottom, middle. Okay, our top ones, seams are going to the right. So what we're going to do with our top piece is flip it so our half square triangle is up. Iron it, set the seam, finger press it open, and iron it. So as you can see here in the back, both of the seams are going to the right. This one, the seams are going to the left, so we just need to put that half square triangle up. Finger press it open, and iron it. Okay, there you go. Seams are going to the left. Last one, we want this again to go to the right. So we're going to put the middle piece up. Okay, set the seam, finger press it open, and iron it. Okay, now we just have 3 rows. Super easy. We're so close. Okay, fold the top one over the bottom or the middle. As we do that, we're going to line up these seams. There you go. We talked about nesting them. Let me get you closer. See? We got the back ones going to the left, the top ones going to the right on both sides. So we want to make sure that these aren't overlapping in any weird way. And I'm actually going to pin this in place. Check this one, make sure they're setting right, grab a pin. There you go. Okay, 1/4 inch right down that edge. Now I'm not sewing over my pins. I put the pins in, and right as I get to them, I pull them out. I want it to stay in place as long as possible, but I don't want to sew over my pins. I have done that in the past, and it is not good for your needle. So don't do that. Or you do, and then you learn the hard way. All right. It doesn't really matter which direction we are ironing them at this point. Okay, got it on. Flip this one up. We are going to line up our seams. And pin it into place. And we are going to go take that to the sewing machine. Okay, here is our finished block. All ready, all pressed. It is now time for the exciting part. We get to put our quilt together. This is what our quilt blocks are going to look like. Let's see. When you get them zoomed out, you notice we're putting 4 of this piece so that our 4 patches are here in the middle. Lots of strings on this one. 4 in the middle, we're making this really cool square. And as you put 1, 2, 3, 4 of them together, you start to see a star, and you also get to see a lot of other patterns here that are coming about. So this is super exciting. So how are we going to lay this out? Okay, here's our bottom. I already have 2 of them sewn together. Then we're going to take, we have this one. Okay, and the one we just finished, let's put this one towards the middle. Do I like it like that? Yep, looks good. I try to not be too particular because I'm a little bit too particular. Okay, so we have our 4 pieces. We're going to fold this one over and line up that seam. Okay, we are going to, I'm looking for pins, they're on my wrist. Line up these seams here in the center. And let's see, did we luck out? Are my seams? Oh, yes. My seams are nesting beautifully. Okay, pin them in. Sew them a 1/4 inch. You're going to put 2 of them together. This one's already done for us, but we're going to sew a 1/4 inch down each of those. Okay, as we start to iron these, if we want them to nest all pretty, okay, what you need to remember is you're always going to put the same block up here in the left corner. Okay, so if I start with a 4 patch here, this is my seam, okay, I want to do them all that way so that as we put our blocks together, they'll nest nice and pretty. Okay, I do that, finger press it open, and set that seam. Finish that seam off. Okay, my next one. This is not a 4 patch, so I'm going to flip it over until I see my 4 patch in the top left corner. I'm going to set that seam, fold it open, whoops, finger press it open as best I can, and finish it off with a nice iron. So now we have 2 seams that are going this way, which is fine because when I flip this one around, whoops, let's go the right direction. I flip this one around and I line up the centers. This one is going towards me and this one is going away from me. So then I will just flip it over, nest that seam, and pin it into place. There are going to be times along here where these ones aren't going to all nest right. And that's when you just decide which ones you're going to make sure go in the right direction. Honestly, like this one, I'm just going to fold it back and pin it like this so that they do have a nice nesting. I don't want too much bulk right here on the seam. And that's just kind of the way it happens. All right. Pin them all along each of those seams. Make sure you can feel that the seams are lining up. And then you're going to sew Whoops, that one came out. 1/4 inch all the way down this long side of the block. Okay, at this point you need to be pulling out your full-size ironing board if you have one. The small ones are super nice when we're just doing little pieces. We can put them on top of the table, but it's time for our big ironing board. And the reason being, it makes it so much easier to sew these beautiful blocks. So we now have put together 4 of the smaller blocks to create a big star block. We need 9 of these. So make 36 of the smaller pieces, put them together with 4 together. I showed you how you're putting the 4 patches towards the middle and towards the points, and you should make 9 of these. Now, this should be obvious, but we're going to take our big old quilt blocks and we're going to put them together to make the final quilt top. So exciting. 3 in a row, 3 rows. Super easy, right? I'm going to let you go ahead and go do that because I have walked you through how to nest seams, make sure they're not overlapping, line them up nice and pretty, and make sure that you're ironing between every sew. So every time you do a seam, get it all ironed out. Your iron is your friend, and it's going to make it lay all nice and flat. So I'm going to go lay this out, decide how I want to put it together. A tip, you can use a big floor that's open. I usually use my kitchen floor. I have a space between my island and my kitchen table that is big enough for me to lay out quilts, and I lay them out and I can look at them and move them around until you like them, and then I'll pick up 2 of them at a time. Okay, we pick up 2 at a time, fold one over on top of each other, fold the seam, iron it open, put it back on my floor in the right spot so I don't mess up anything. Does that make sense? Okay, get your whole quilt top put together, and I'm going to go do that, meet you back here, and then we'll just talk about how we're going to finish up our quilts. All right, our last thing we want to do is make sure we give our quilt a good iron, and then we want to make sure that we've trimmed all of the strings from sewing so that when we go to finish the quilt, they are not in the way. Okay, a good place to start is in the seams. I just pull them tight, trim them off. Throw them in the trash. I have a friend that throws them on the ground. Then she comes back and vacuums them all up, however you would like to do it. But when you have the seams all trimmed, you're less likely to get them caught in your quilting. Okay, I have it all done. Let's take a look, shall we? Oh, I love this fabric. Okay, quilt all put together. Oh, I still have a few strings I need to get off. Okay, what are our next steps? We just got done piecing the top. This is called piecing when we put it all together. Our next step is going to be doing the actual quilting. Quilting is when we take a backing, the batting, and then a quilt top, like the one we just put together, sandwich them together, and sew them front to back. Lots of different options. You could tie a quilt if you have access to a long arm. You could do it on your home machine. Your home machine actually is going to be a little difficult because this is such a big quilt. Or you could, a lot of quilt stores rent out a long arm. A long arm allows you to load the whole quilt onto the machine and do it all at one time. Or you can send it off to a quilter. And usually they charge 1 to 2 cents per square inch. So depending on the size of your quilt, it depends on how much it's going to cost you and how dense you want your quilting. I took a class a couple years ago and learned how to long arm, so I'm actually going to take this down to my local quilt shop at the end of the week. I'm going to put it on a long arm and I'm going to have it all quilted. I'm going to do all the quilting, and I'm actually kind of excited. So let me show you what I'm going to put on the back. You could do a solid. You could pick one of these fabrics that we used and get 5 or 6 yards, seam a back. They do sell backing fabric, which is what I actually bought. It's usually 108 inches wide. And this one's actually really fun because it is a rainbow, and I thought it would be perfect on this quilt because there's so much color. So it starts at purple, okay, grows through blue, green, yellow, orange, and last but not least, a pink. Now the pink isn't exactly the pink I use in my quilt. It's more of a peach pink, so that may be a side I might end up trimming it off. To get me set up to quilt this, what I'm going to do is measure my quilt top. It should be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So the small blocks were 12 inches. 24 inches for the big blocks. There's 3 of them in a row, so we're talking about 6 feet, 72 inches by 72 inches. That's generally what it should be. I'm going to trim my quilt backing, so I have a 4-inch border extra that goes all the way around. That's how I need to do it for a long arm, which means I need to do it 80 inches by 80 inches. I'm going to trim my batting the same, 80 inches by 80 inches. Hook it onto my zippers because they do zippers at the long arm. You may not even know what I'm talking about if you haven't seen a long arm. If you want to see a long arm, just go to your local quilt store. A lot of them have it. They're super cool to watch, and a lot of them are computerized, but the ones I do, I just do by hand. I follow a pattern and a laser light, and it does it on my quilt. So I'm going to get that done, and very last thing, I will show you my finished quilt after I have finished it and bound it, and we can see how it turns out. I did a beautiful flower design on this to match the fabric. All right, and there you have it. It is our finished Jacob's Ladder quilt. Did you have a fun time working on that? Got it all done on the long arm and bound. On the back, it has a rainbow. Love the way that turned out. Pulls in all the colors from the front. You can actually see the quilting a little better here. I did a flower pattern, has some leaves on it. I just did a pantograph edge to edge at my local quilt store. I just rented out the long arm over there. And then I bound it. I usually do a faux binding, a faux double binding. And the outside I pulled in from the fabric line, so that's kind of fun. And then a red to make it pop. Other than that, that's it. I think we have it all together. How did yours turn out? I would love to see. So if you can find me over on Instagram, I'm Ashley_SunnyMade. Just tag me in your post. I would love to see what you're working on. And if you have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comment section below and I will get back to you. Other than that, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can get the next videos in your inbox. And I will see you next week. Happy sewing!